Hello everyone. Today I'm going to basically do a year in review. It is now 2024. I wanted to kind of talk about the channel, the big highlights of the last year, which is kind of weird because my channel hasn't even existed for a year. I uploaded my first video, I believe, in April, and I thought, okay, well, I just want to give my thoughts on Sleep Token, specifically because when Take Me Back Eden came out, it blew me away. Obviously, there was a lot of coverage of it. You've got the big reaction channels around YouTube looking at the summoning. They blow up out of nowhere. But that album, for me, had a lot more depth to it than I saw a lot of reactors going into because they were hearing Sleep Token for the first time. So I wanted to provide something that was a little bit more analysis for people who were coming at that album with the history of the previous two, like the trilogy as a whole. I had low expectations. I really just wanted to rant about it. To anyone that would listen, my friends were probably getting tired of all my fan theories and all that. So I decided to commit it to video and see what the response would be from you guys. And the response has been more than I ever expected. I kind of thought this would just be a project to kind of help me blow off steam, but somehow you guys have liked what I had to say, so thanks for tuning in. It makes it easier for me to continue to do this, knowing that people do enjoy it and they're getting something out of it. So thank you if you've left a like, if you left a comment on any of the videos I've put out. I do appreciate you guys. Cannot believe I have 130 subscribers on this channel. That's not something that I thought would have happened. So that being said, you guys had some clear favorites. With obviously the Sleep Token videos are, I guess, what most people are here for, but I also did do a little Halloween side project thing just to put a few things out there that I thought you guys might like. I'm hoping to kind of do the same thing today, but of the Sleep Token songs, the runaway winner that got the most views in you guys' eyes was Euclid. For some reason that drew the biggest audience, which I think is interesting because I would have thought it would have been something like Summoning, because I know that was getting boosted pretty hard, or even Ascensionism. I saw a lot of that, but not a whole lot of people listening to Euclid, not the bigger React channels, you know. My most recent video got a lot of traction as well, Bloodsport. That probably was the fastest I've seen the view count go up, so that was a nice way to end out the trilogy. I do have one more Sleep Token video I plan on putting out in the future. But for today, I wanted to give you guys my top albums of 2023. In no particular order. 2023 was a great year for music, for metal in particular, which is what I'm going to be focusing on. But without further ado, let's jump right in. The first album I want to showcase is by Currents. It's called The Death We Seek. This album is pretty wild in how heavy but yet still kind of accessible it is. Currents is a band that I have only recently kind of got into. I remember listening to their last album thinking it was good, but this one is really, really good. I don't know how to describe it. It's got these soaring clean choruses on some of the songs that are just really catchy. The guitar work is heavy and very, very rhythmic in the metalcore style, but also brings these little technical flares where it needs to. I can't recommend this album enough. If you're looking for songs to listen to, if you're looking for something just heavy all the way through, Vengeance is a great pick. It's just relentlessly heavy the entire time. There's some other songs that have a little more of a soaring chorus, like Unfamiliar will give you more of a traditional chorus where you can sing along to it. And if you want something that adds kind of like the flair of maybe some like more deathcore vocals, Living in Tragedy gives you that, and it's got just a really crazy fucking intro riff that I like. It's very simple. The only thing I'll say about it is the Living in Tragedy riff. Sounds quite similar to the Bad Omen song Artificial Suicide, and if you've heard that song, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the takeaway is Currents blends metalcore sound and like kind of these deathcore vocals together very well. It's very well executed. I would give it a shot if you are a fan of metalcore at all. Next up on my list is a band I would never have guessed that I would put here, Cattle Decap. This is kind of an old school grindcore death metal band. I don't even know the best way to describe them. I'm just not that familiar with this type of music. However, they really did something special this year in that I think that they made more approachable music here without sacrificing the nastiness of the vocals or the just slamming riffs. It's more of a straightforward death metal riffage thing going on here for most of the album, but they're still very cool riffs, very catchy. I actually learned a few of them. It's in standard tuning, which is wild because I'm used to kind of the metalcore deathcore riffs, but it's a nice blend of kind of their old crazy blast beat, you know, growling sound and with more accessible riffs and choruses, and there is singing. He sounds a bit like a goblin at times, so that's kind of an acquired taste. But other than that, if you like more extreme music, this is very good to check out. I love the songs We Eat Our Young and Scourge of the Offspring were kind of the singles, and they do a really good job of setting up the sound. The vocalist is crazy. He does these crazy highs and these crazy lows. He can like roll his tongue while he does these crazy screams. It sounds really cool. Aphotic Doom is also really good. I would recommend this. There's like an orchestral element to it for some of the songs, like Just Another Body, I believe. Yeah, can't recommend this enough if you're into the heavier stuff. If you missed this album, then you missed out.
We interrupt your death metal to bring you some heavy news.
To break away from the metal for just a second, the band Bear Ghost is one that I just discovered this year. I don't know if you guys have used the Spotify DJ at all. It's a new thing that they introduced this year. It fed me this band in one of the radio station things that it put on, and I haven't been able to get enough of them. I don't know how I didn't know about them before. They're very eclectic. They're more of a rock band than a metal band, obviously, which is why I'm saying we're taking a break from metal for just a second. But they're very inventive. Every song is its own unique experience. They have a lot of really cool instrumentation, a lot of like keyboard, like synth. I don't know if it's synth, just like keyboard work. A lot of cool guitar work. The vocalist kind of gives it his all. He's performing these songs a lot more than I've seen other artists do. I actually showed off one of their songs off another album in a video I did for Halloween. But this album is on the shorter side. Some of the songs are really, really short, but it goes from like discordant rock stuff with heavy news into like a barbershop quartet thing with Peas in Love. They've got like the ska thing with Rivers as a Vampire. This is the rockabilly song, and I give them credit here. Big Town Banky Blaine's Rockabilly Barbecue, they say those words in the song. Usually if it's a ridiculously long title like that, it's not actually in the actual lyrics. So I give them props for incorporating that. You've got kind of the more straight up rock sounds with the rest of the songs here, but it's a very diverse sound. I don't think it'll be for everybody, but if it is for you, the theatrics of it I think will draw you in. They are bands that I can't recommend enough if you want to hear something different, something that kind of breaks the mold. there's no way I can talk about the albums of the year without talking about Periphery. This is their fifth, I guess, mainline album, Periphery 5. Djent is not a genre. It's kind of a joke name. Most of their albums do have kind of a jokish name. For example, Periphery 4, Hail Stan, you know, that just kind of goofy. However, this one I think lives up to its name. They are known for kind of being like a progressive djent band in the vein of like Meshuggah. Some people going so far as to saying that they basically ripped off Meshuggah, which I think is kind of dumb. They definitely do their own thing. Their vocalist Spencer has a crazy range. He flies above everything else. I cannot praise him enough. He has had a voice that ages like fine wine. It's crazy going back to listen to him. Unlike the first album and what he sounds like here. This is a very eclectic album again. I say it lives up to the name Djent is not a genre because while a lot of the riffs, especially like Wildfire, Atropos, Everything is Fine, are very djent heavy in that it's this low tuned guitar, very rhythmically intense. They definitely have songs on here that break the mold. Wax Wings is a very melodic kind of almost religious experience. I love this song. Spencer hits a high note at the end that just kills. Wildfire has a really interesting kind of like jazz solo in the middle of it, so that was kind of your first indication that this album is not going to be like the other albums. Silhouette is a very, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a pop song. It's got a bunch of like electronic elements. Same with like Dying Star, before it kind of knocks you out in the end with Zagreus and Draco Gra being a more pounding metal experience. And then it ends on this heartfelt 11-minute song that I hear is based off of the Final Fantasy composer's music, which is really, really interesting. It rounds out the album really nicely with this chill orchestral thing to sit back in. So if you like progressive metal, you like orchestral compositions, I think you'll love Periphery. And if you've listened to their previous albums, specifically Juggernaut, Alpha, and Omega, there are so many callbacks in this album that longtime fans will pick up on and think are really cool. So I would recommend this to anybody who's looking for something that is more on the progressive side of the metal stuff. Periphery is just a mainstay in that genre.
There was a time I thought you might be finished with the taste of blood.
An album that just barely made the cut. It came out in November, I believe. The long-awaited Closure in Moscow album, Soft Hell. I don't know how many people were awaiting it with as much anticipation as I was, but as soon as they released a new single, I was on the edge of my seat waiting for this thing to come out because Pink Lemonade, their last album, is one of my favorites of all time, and they delivered with this album. They have some songs on here that sound kind of like Silk Sonic. It's kind of got this funk running through the entire album. That seems to be their main driving force creatively with this album. It's pretty long, but once again, they do a good job to vary the songs. Some are more frantic than others, some are more of like a ballad. It's very interesting what they've got going on here. The main vocalist just gives these great performances. I didn't know how this was going to go because it's been nearly a decade since their last album. But he's still going strong. The band's still going strong. If you like kind of rock, funk, mashup, fusion stuff, this will be your jam, I think. A lot of really tasty guitar licks, a lot of cool like bass lines, a lot of cool vocal lines that are just like sultry. I don't know the best way to say it. As an honorable mention, I'm going to bring up the album Antimai by The Deer Hunter. It did not come out this year, but I didn't listen to it till this year, so since it's my list, I can do what I want. I'm putting it on the list for this year. The Deer Hunter is a very interesting band. Their main songwriter, Casey Crescenzo, obviously has a lot of training in kind of composition and stuff like that. So their genres bounce back and forth quite a lot. They have one of my favorite albums of all time, their Act 4 album. I'll put it up on the screen so you can find it. However, Antimai takes an interesting turn into throwing in like horns and like a full orchestrated thing as a main part of every song. It's not as guitar focused, not as rock focused as some of their other albums. But I think this is a super important album in that it blends all these elements super well. You'll just have to go in and listen to it. It's very catchy. It's got a lot of prog elements, especially in the first song, Poverty. The actual structure of the album with these rings is describing this fictional society where we have these different classes and there is kind of like this oppressive force at the top that's keeping everyone down, and we're getting this world building that's incredible in the way the music flows and the way the lyrics work. It's a very profound social commentary that I think has a lot of real world parallels, obviously, which is why I called it a fictional city of Antimai. I would give this a shot. I would honestly say anybody listen to this. There's not really any part of it that I think is abrasive, like most metal that I listen to. I kind of have to give the caveat that, hey, you might not like the vocals. Hey, this might be a little bit ridiculous on the drums. You know, maybe not everyone likes blast beats. I can full-throated recommend this to anybody. I think there is enough here that anyone will find something they like. Well, that just about does it. There are obviously some albums that I did not cover. There was too much to go over. I couldn't go through all of them. But that is my list of the top albums in no particular order of 2023. I'm looking forward to a good 2024 to see what comes out then. I plan to keep on making videos. I'll probably even make some off of some of the albums that I have mentioned here. So be sure to leave a comment if there's something in particular you want to see. But until then, I'll see you on the next one. See ya. Oh yeah, and of course, Take Me Back to Eden, #1, best album of the year. I didn't think I had to say it, but here it is.